Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I call the December 14th, 2025 Public Health and Safety Committee meeting to order. I'll begin with introduction. I'm Chair Jean Wora. We have council members Cindy Records and Mike Adamson, Mayor Andrea Deutsch, Chief John String, and Director of Public Works Jeff Eldon, and December Manager. We do have a pretty packed agenda today, so I'll do my best to keep it moving to the finish by 11. And I will just note that public comment on agenda items 2A, 2B, C, and D will be taken before the committee votes on those items, and all other general public comments will be taken. And I'd also like to make an agenda adjustment and move the Shade Tree Committee report up on the agenda. Can you hear anything? Yeah, that's fine. Unless there's any objections. Okay. All right, so we'll begin with the Shade Tree Committee report. We have Bettina Hess here, representing the Shade Tree Commission.
Okay. Well, I am here on behalf of the Shade Tree Commission, and we just wanted to report that we had another successful tree planting in November. We planted 38 trees, all native species, 10 different species, all on homeowner properties. And many thanks to Jeff Eldon and his crew for all the help in delivering the trees and just everything we needed in terms of logistics. Jeff was there in the morning to help us set up the garage and have our meeting. And thanks to Jean and her family for volunteering. We had about 25 volunteers, and overall it was just successful. I think so. In terms of the entire year, I think we planted around 56 trees, and they were primarily on resident properties. Spaces, but
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thanks to everyone for council and everyone for the support. So
It was a great planting day.
it's fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you for the update, and thank you for your work with the absolutely commission. Okay, so we'll move on to the next action item, which is approval of the minutes for the November 14th meeting.
To approve the minutes of our meeting on November 14th.
Second. Thank you, and all those in favor? All right, the minutes are approved. Then we'll move on to recommendations to council. We have 4 items that we will be voting on today, and for each item, the committee will discuss, take public comment, and then vote on the committee's recommendation to full council. So, in terms of a public comment, I've asked that everyone keep their comments to 3 minutes, and before you provide the public comments to state your name and your address. So we'll start with item 2A, which is the ordinance 1069 for gas powered leaf blowers. Can I have a motion for that? So
A second.
thank you. And is there anyone who could provide an overview for that, or should I? Has anything substantively changed? No, so it's pretty much mirrors Lower Merion's ordinance. So just to give a background, this is an ordinance that restricts gas-powered leaf blowers in Narberth. It applies to all residents, landscapers, and this is a seasonal phase-in for 2026 to 2028. And then it moves to a full ban in 2029. So electric powered leaf blowers are still allowed all year. Generators are like banned for electric blowers. And Lower Merion passed this ordinance on November 19th. So this is something that we will follow suit with.
There was something, we got an email that said John added some updates. I assume that was,
Yeah, he added a few whereas clauses, similar to the ones that were added to the plastic straw ordinance. He felt it would have a stronger basis to defend with those. And he also just recommended that where we place this in the code from property maintenance to under nuisance.
I will say I am 100% supportive of this. However, as I said at the beginning, I think we wait and let Lower Marion see the implementation and quite honestly, see if there's gonna be litigation to follow. I would vote to suspend this for 4 or 5 months, and I do believe it's in the opinion of Solicitor Walker that we will be named as co-defendants. And I do want to point out that we took the hit with the plastics ordinance for the state of Pennsylvania. The rest of the municipalities said, okay, now let's wait and see if you get sued. Then they said, okay, you didn't, and everyone followed suit. I personally would say I'm full support of this. I would like to revisit it in, I don't know, 4 to 5 months.
Do we have a specific recommendation from, John Walco about the waiting period?
He did recommend about 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3
Mhm.
months.
Okay, then
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
walkover months, yeah.
So I support the waiting period as well. I think I support the ordinance, but yeah.
I mean, I'm the one who originally raised the question of waiting to see what.
Well,
What
when we
happened
started
because-
this, I came
Right.
on and said,
Right.
yeah, like, we ought to hold off on this.
Yeah, so I, again, substantively, I
Of
have
course.
no issues with it whatsoever, but especially if I'm the guy who sits on social media and looks, I mean, there has been a fair amount of focus, I'll call it, focus pushback by some folks in Lower Marion, and it would not surprise me if
Okay.
they bring some litigation. And I think I would also just, one thing that I thought of after the fungi folks talked to us, and I don't know how we could integrate that with Lower Marion, but, they were talking about giving subsidies for, changeover from oil heat, for home housing, and that obviously, helps individuals, and, that's one of the reasons for the pushback is, especially, this doesn't just apply to commercial folks, but for individuals as well. I wonder if we can coordinate with fungi, and that's what they'd be interested in, trying to maybe work with Lower Marion about trying to subsidize the changeover in some way. First, whether it's first come, first served or something, but I do think that we should consider that, and if there is going to be funding from fungi for these sorts of projects like this, it seems to me like this is right there.
The problem with the fungi donations, the 2 substantial donations have been earmarked for parks.
No,
that are not funded right
right.
now. But if
But-
we vote on this now versus 4 months from now, it actually doesn't change the implementation.
Right,
And so it's,
yeah, I agree.
okay,
I agree. So I think is the motion to recommend that we delay a final vote for a few months, 2 to 4 months to see if ordinary something in the direction. But the implementation date isn't until
right,
June 1st. The first implementation date isn't until June 1st.
right,
anyway.
right. And we need to be good stewards of people's tax dollars.
Yeah.
We can't ideologically put our neighbors up for footing the bill for being co-defendants if we don't have to.
Any other comments from the committee? Okay, if there's anyone in the room or online who would like to make a public comment for the gas card leaf blowers, please raise your hand. Okay. Then so we're voting on a recommendation for advertising the ordinance 1069 for gas car leaf blowers in 2 to 3 months.
I'd say 2 or 4. If we wanted to, yeah.
In 2 to 4 months.
Some wiggle room.
All those in favor? Okay, so that 3 to 0. we will move on to item 2B, petition to remove 2-hour parking restriction on the 200 block of Chestnut Avenue. Can I have a motion for that?
So,
Second,
Thank you. And the question, I don't have a lot of information about this, if somebody can provide an overview.
Yeah, sure. So we received 2 petitions from the residents of the 200 block of Chestnut Ave requesting to remove the 2-hour parking restriction. And then sort of piggybacking onto that, we had the residents on the block of South Essex between Woodside and Chestnut on the east side. Also ask if the 2-hour parking could be removed because technically there are no addresses on South Essex. And if the committee recommends to council, there'll be a 3-month trial period, so the signs will be covered. And then for Chestnut Ave, I believe our policy would ask them to submit another petition, just making sure residents are still happy with the outcome. But South Essex technically does not need to submit a petition because there are less than 5 houses. There are no houses with a South Essex address. So that could actually just be decided by council.
And are they requesting removal of the 2-hour parking restriction just for that one block or for the entire?
For South Essex, it's just that one block between Woodside and Chestnut.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we have anyone here for Chestnut Ave, if they wanted to add anything further. I'm not sure if we have any representatives.
Funny, I walked by this yesterday. Why is there no parking on Essex on the one side? Does anyone know?
I don't know, but it doesn't make sense that there's no parking.
No, I walked yesterday because I walk by there often and I thought, is it because there's traffic? It's not.
I've never understood that one. So the South Essex block that they're requesting no parking on makes total sense. What they are requesting makes total sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, when I looked at the map, I was like,
it makes,
why
yeah.
is there-
Yeah,
John or Jeff, do you know if there's some
There's some
structural
historical-
reason why there's no? Okay, so the reality is if you take away the 2 parking and say, oh my God, everyone's parking there, you could potentially add the parking on the other side of the street, right?
I would also suggest if we are removing parking on that block, we just extend it to the entire South Essex Avenue, so it doesn't create problems for other blocks. And like Emily said, there are no actual residents that have a South Essex address that can request that. So I think we should consider doing that. I mean,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
And you're just covering putting the bag over the signs, it's not off the sign.
right, and then we were also talking about process for this. Apparently, it costs, there's a significant cost to the borough every time there's a addition or more for the addition, but also for the removal. We have to advertise the ordinance, update the ordinance, advertise it, and then get it adopted. So I know other municipalities do on a rolling basis, like annually, instead of, for every request. So that's something that I think we should consider. Yes, but we're not doing this every
Much.
Yeah, I agree, that's a good idea.
So we might want to look at that.
I would do it at least twice a year, but every 6 months. Because annually leaves a big gap if they're reading. Yeah, that's a little.
And I was talking to another council member about this and, I'll put this, Jim's here, but he also offered the idea of extending that waiting period to 6 months instead of 3 months. So that if any other requests come in during that time, they can be, incorporated. So that's another option as well.
I think twice a year makes good sense.
Twice a year. I heard that might be twice a year.
Any additional discussion for the committee? All right, so we'll now open the floor for public comment on item 2B, petition to remove 2-hour parking on 200 block of Chestnut Avenue. Is there anyone in the room or online that has a comment on this? Okay. All right, so,
So just to be clear, we're agreeing to extend it all the way down to South Essex. Not
So we are-
not just what the petition asks for, but the additional block, right?
right.
Okay.
So what we're voting on is recommending removal of 2-hour parking on the 200 block of Chestnut Avenue, as well as the entire length of South Essex Avenue.
As a benefit, having people park there obviously works as a traffic calming measure. So, I think that's one way to slow up, the traffic, especially, after the bridge opens, which is in the future, but it's a way to slow up traffic.
So all in favor? Okay, that's 3-0 in favor. Okay, and then we'll move on to item 2C, petition to add 2-hour parking restriction for Stephanie Place. I have a motion for that.
So
Second,
Thank you, and Chief Strang, can you provide an overview for that?
Based on the petition, the manager asked that we conduct a utilization report for the block there. So over 5 weekdays, the parking controller went out and made observations 3 times a day across all 5 days of what the utilization was. In summary, peak utilization was 7 vehicles, 58% of capacity. The lowest was 2, 16% of capacity, with an average over those 5 days at about 37%. So overall, it's about 40% utilization of the on-street parking. Again, this is only a short period. I will say that there is a construction project that's going on, which a lot of those vehicles are construction vehicles. So what we're seeing is probably indicative of a short-term issue.
And you did reach out to those contractors?
Yes, yeah.
And
what was their reaction?
Unwillingness to move anywhere else. So they have to access equipment from their cars. So like we offer them to a one-save line, which is, a block and a half or 2 blocks, and I guess walking back to work isn't convenient. So, they were polite about it, but in lieu of any restriction, in lieu of any restrictions, they were like, we're gonna park here.
Yeah.
So,
Are these, construction vehicles for a project on Stephanie Place or in Little Remy?
all my company out there will rent.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah, I will say, you just heard 2 neighborhoods requesting to take away 2-hour parking.
Right.
And I will say, if this is temporary, and the data are pretty clear, you're not over parked, right? I think the highest you got was like 50%. If you do realize every time someone comes over, you're gonna have to log on, register for them to be there, put in their license plate for something that's temporary, that we can't just take it away because it costs the whole borough money.
Right.
Okay.
I did read that. I did go in and read
Yeah.
all about that. And I did just listen to what you had to say. I understand, and yes, I'm torn, because it seems like it might be subsiding right now, but I'm not sure if they're on break. But also the residents over there have 4 cars of their own and they park them. And she is the one that said to me, I can park my car behind your driveway and leave it there for a year and never move it an inch. And that's the way the Narberth laws are.
Well, I wonder if we wanna maybe move and reconsider this at our next meeting, because I live at 2-hour parking, I'll tell you, it's an inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience?
Yeah, I mean, but I also wanna be able to park on my street, so it's a trade-off, because I really am in a street without driveways and it's very parked out. But I do, given the fact that this is construction and temporary, I really think we should probably wait a month.
I will, excuse me, this morning I had trouble getting here out of my driveway because there are 2 cars smack dab, one of them smack dab at the back of my driveway, which is very narrow
Yeah.
into Stephanie Place, and one in front of that. So what I did was, make a right, go up on the grass between us. I've had to move a bush because I go up on that grass all the time, because of the people who park behind me. Now, what's happening across the street? I don't think that's a temporary thing, maybe. I know that they are in the process now of building an outhouse or something because they have used the garage for extending their house. So whatever was in the garage, they are now building something on their other piece of their property to house whatever used to be in the garage. So I don't know if the construction there is gonna ever end, but that's beside the point. They are beside the point. There are many other houses next door, down the street, who can decide to start renovating their house and just using Stephanie Place. Like I said, this morning, it was a problem for me to come here.
Well, this is not gonna solve that.
Right,
Yeah.
the thing is,
Yeah.
I think we talked about maybe you could also, apply for an ADA space.
So
I'm sorry, I'm partially deaf and I have a hard time hearing everything and
You could apply
I hope
for-
I'm not shouting.
No.
It's just, I talk loud because I have a problem hearing.
I'm saying you could apply for an ADA space across from your driveway. And the thing is, you have a 1048 Montgomery Avenue address, which means that you wouldn't be able to park on your own street.
Well, on
And
a
so
Stephanie,
we've had that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 8 houses that are on Stephanie Place.
well, it's,
And 4 of those houses do not have Stephanie Place addresses, so they would not be able to park on that street.
or get their guests parking passes.
right, and I hear it. I mean, but I just want to show you.
Yeah.
This is what it looked like. And before you guys thank you very much for putting the no parking here in the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, literally,
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out,
What the problem
is there,
Every street has a no parking, and there's a 2-hour parking.
It doesn't.
Why-
No,
It's just about.
No, it doesn't. That's the minority. And as you can see, the places that have them want them gone.
Okay, well, that's their problem.
So I
My
might
problem is
suggest
this.
if you're having issues accessing your own driveway and exiting your own driveway, you could request a no parking
Right.
space just in front of your driveway.
right, that would be so helpful. And maybe that is the solution. Now we've got the no parking here in the corner. And maybe, because we asked them over and over and over again, please don't block the driveways. And that's when she said to me, I don't have to move my car for a year.
Well, whoever is behind my driveway today that I had a hard time getting out, it has nothing to do with those people.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's other people.
This is somebody else.
Okay. so
yeah, I'm
that's a
starting to
different
think
issue.
that putting up a no park, like,
Yeah.
You know,
putting
like
no
the
parking
triangles
there.
like they down
Right.
at, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes
Yeah.
more sense than a
Yeah.
2-hour
Yeah.
restriction. I don't think the 2-hour
Yeah.
restriction is going to solve.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
so
one of those, be careful what
I
you
would
wish
go
for.
with wisely, your recommendation is
Yeah,
there.
can we,
You're gonna have really sad neighbors when they get tickets and their guests.
You know, I,
and your guests can take it.
I don't wanna have sad neighbors.
Okay, so-
No, yes, okay.
So
So Jeff's looking at the map. So can we have a no parking across from the driveways?
There's only one other spot in town that has that.
No, there's R2, there's Kevin, which is 204 behind his driveway. And then there's 202, and she complains that she can't back out of her driveway.
And this morning, the lady, what's Kevin's number?
204.
204. She's, works over at Shipley School. Today, somebody parked their car
Truck.
right there, ran out of their car to go visit or deliver something, and the lady couldn't get out to go to her job at Shipley. So, and she had to wait for whoever decided to deliver something, come take the car away, take the
We
car
get
away.
that
I
too.
mean,
Is that's the Amazon folks, FedEx folks.
No, we're not gonna
I
fix
mean,
It wasn't Amazon, it was a person. It was a human
well,
being.
Well, it's probably an Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, we're not gonna change sadly, the delivery culture.
Right. So I was just thinking if we could do those triangles, like,
Yeah.
that were there when I moved in.
Yeah.
They were there, Mr. Ferber had them
Yeah.
not painted on there.
Yeah.
Is that feasible?
I would
Have
ask
to
for public
defer to
works,
the, yeah.
please.
Jeff, can we do,
Goes back to
Triangles.
council once, you know. if you
Yeah,
want us
can we
to
do
start
triangles off
opening
the
this up
driveways?
to- If you want us to start opening this up and
I
get
was just
this
gonna say.
request is with that, you know, we're gonna lose parking.
Well, and we just
Yeah,
then
if
paid an
we're-
engineer to do triangles at price,
I know,
and then quite
Well,
honestly.
so
Yeah,
to be
it
clear,
wouldn't be a triangle, it would be
Yeah.
2 signposts, 2 signs and X's, you know.
yeah, it's not on the side where the driveways are, it's on the opposite
Opposite,
side.
Oh,
So,
okay,
so.
right, I got you.
Yeah.
Because the lanes are there.
Yeah.
So do you
Okay.
know what I
Yeah.
mean by the triangle, like down by Real Pizza?
Yeah.
And if we could do that behind the driveways, I think that would open up the street and that would quell the,
yeah, I think you'd rather do that than the 2 hour, quite frankly.
I think so too. I think that would
Okay.
work.
Yeah,
And if it doesn't work, we'll come back.
Yeah,
That's
right,
the-
exactly.
The no parking here corner, that's been resolved. So
Yeah.
that was huge.
yeah.
That was huge. And I'm very grateful
All
that,
right, so now they're just moving behind my driveway because they're not parking.
yeah, but what
Out the
else?
street.
Yeah. Okay,
So right now, we have to make a decision on the 2 hour restriction in parking, so I will open it up to public comments, if there's anyone else online, or in the room who wants to make a public comment. I'm hearing none, and would you just, also state your name and address?
thank you very much.
The people who are parking behind our driveways and run away or, you know, for the day or night or whatever, can we call up and have them ticketed? I know that there's no signs or anything,
No.
but every time somebody does that, why don't we have them ticketed?
Because it's a public street and they have every legal right
Right.
to park there, but we do need your names and address for the public record. Can
Mine,
you state your name, both of your
okay,
names?
yeah, so my name's Wendy Lord, Lord, and it's 206 Stepney Place.
And
And I'm Demetra Haynes, Haines, and I'm 1048 Montgomery Avenue, North.
okay, thank you. And thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, so can we have like, can we like sort of sum it up here?
Well, we need to vote on the 2 hours.
Well,
yeah, so-
Summation.
So I'm gonna amend the request and say that in lieu of a 2 hour parking restriction, we will have Public Works
Explore.
explore the best way to create ease of egress out of your driveways.
And so what,
So either probably marking it as no parking or potentially the triangles, depending on what. They have to go out and figure out the best way to do this.
yeah, because I mean,
But
less signs on the street, wouldn't it be cheaper to paint them on the street?
You need signs to go along.
Oh, the signs have to go with it.
Yes.
There
I'm not
used to
worried
be
about the
like
money,
Wild
it's
West.
Inconvenience that we're going through all the time.
Okay, so can we vote on, maybe have the commission vote down the 2 hour, let Jeff explore and then bring them
Yeah,
back.
I think that's what.
Yeah.
Okay, what was that?
Okay.
Okay.
So
Right now, we're voting.
we're voting on the 2 hour parking restriction request for Stepney Place. All in favor of recommending adding 2 hour parking restriction on Stepney Place? All opposed? Okay, so that's 3-0 opposed. And then I would just recommend you reach out to Public Works about an alternative solution. I don't think the 2 hour restriction, yeah.
Okay, so we have to start the whole process
No, no, no.
again?
No, just make an appointment with Jeff. And hopefully Jeff can come out and
Take a look.
take a look and work collaboratively with you for what he thinks is the best solution.
Okay,
'Cause I
so do you have my phone number and email?
Why don't, I can send it to you, his information's online, so you can contact him.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you very much.
So,
Okay, so we'll move on to item 2D, the Price Avenue striping pilot. Can I have a motion for item 2D?
Second.
Thank you. So I'll start by summarizing where we are. We started this process in the fall of 2024. And in response to concerns about driveway egress sightline issues and conflicts with vehicles not yielding or not having the space to yield on the 200 block of Price Avenue, the engineer proposed a striping pilot in March to address the issues that were expressed. So we've now reached the end of the pilot, but we received some mixed feedback regarding it. The residents who received the driveway triangles are generally happy with the changes, it seems like, and the residents without the triangles are reporting some additional issues, including cars blocking their driveways because it's pushing other cars to park closer to their driveways. So I also want to note that from the feedback that we're receiving, we're continuing to hear concerns about speeds and volumes. And I think the residents are correct that the driveway triangles, they don't sell for that issue. So I would say that might be a separate process to address the traffic calming issue if they chose to explore that. Any good question?
It does look like, was it Tony who wrote the report? Anyway, Panoni's report of
Michael.
Michael's, thanks. Just maybe reducing the triangles to one instead of two. It seems like we're splitting the baby.
Well,
The compromise.
it sounds from the amended plan that our traffic engineer offered, I don't think it actually solves for the issues that the residents have expressed. And I've reached out to the residents about to see if they would solve the issue, and they agree that it doesn't solve for the issues that they're complaining about. So I don't think.
Well,
that's
there's
good
two, there's actually three different issues, right? One is, I think what this was designed, or the removal was designed to create more parking, right? Because what people are complaining about is by putting in the triangles, people are trying to squeeze in.
Right.
And so they're ending up right on top of other people's driveways where the triangles aren't, I guess. So removing that does solve that problem. It doesn't obviously
Yeah.
relate to speed, which is, I think we have to put the speed issue aside, because this isn't really
Yeah,
about
right.
speed. This was about sight lines and safety, which correlates to speed, but more about making sure people can get out of the driveway and be able to see to get out of the driveway.
Yeah, I just don't think the amended plan solves for the issues expressed by the neighbors.
Well, it's also for the one that I think better, which is the original, which is one with the driveway sightline. So that's one, that was very. I think they want it
Well, I
one
mean-
way.
I mean, the amended plan, is that what you're
Yeah.
speaking of?
Yeah.
You mean
so-
to take out, yeah,
Yeah.
to take out those two. And then I wasn't quite sure, because somebody wrote in and said, well, wait a minute, they circled the wrong ones. Right? One of the neighbors was saying those won't be the better ones to take out.
Yeah, so that was the resident at 221, and so the resident next door has a driveway triangle, and there's, so currently two cars are trying to squeeze in there and ends up blocking her driveway. So that's the problem that she's experiencing.
And you'll see that.
And I think we've also heard that from the two other residents that don't have the driveway triangles, 207 and 209. So
Here's a dumb question. The spots themselves are not striped, right? So people is part of the issue, like people when the street isn't parked up, people come in and they don't park in a good spot, which then
Okay.
kind of loses the next spot.
So I talked to Jeff about this,
Yeah.
we've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, since the length of our parking spot in our ordinance is 22 feet, if we were to start striping parking spaces on roads, we would lose.
Oh, wait, actually, okay.
Yeah, it's such an example of you trying to do something, and I know that people want one way, which is, I think is ultimately what they really want. Which we can't just do in one block, right? That has to be comprehensive.
Yeah.
The second is, I will warn, I mean, the speed bumps take up a parking spot on each side of the street and they are loud. Like there is a collateral.
Yeah.
I don't want to say damage, but
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I think this is a tough solution to, solve for, but, I would say if the neighbors who did not receive driveway triangles, would like to request driveway triangles, I think we should allow for that. Otherwise, I would say, let's
I mean, I
just,
think that they might lose them in another space.
Right.
Or two.
but otherwise, I would say let's go back to the striping plan as it is. I don't think the amended plan really solves for the issue.
Yeah, I don't. Taking out the triangles seems counterintuitive to what we were trying to accomplish originally. Given that the road is two-way, like, why would you make that line of sight worse?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, I would just defer to our professional.
I think,
Oh.
that they were proposed to be taken out just because of the width of the driveway and
Right.
the apartment and the condo association, so that spot will always be open for the house across the street to back out
Right.
into. As you mentioned at our other meeting, that house that sits directly across from both entrances, it always has, space to just back across the street and pull out.
Right.
If I don't think you're looking to change what is there now, but I did want to comment on the engineer's recommendation. He did recommend removing the south side triangle that is adjacent to the existing driveway to the apartment complex. I strongly recommend that not be done. I don't think he took into account that is an emergency access for fire trucks and ambulances. And if we allow vehicles to park above the driveway there, it's going to create a hazard.
Okay.
So just for consideration.
Yeah. Okay, that's helpful. And I'll open it up to public comment if there's no more discussion. So this is public comment for Price Avenue striking pilot. Anyone in the room wish to make public comment?
I just have a question for
Oh,
the chief.
please state your name and.
Your last comment about the triangles at the apartments, I didn't hear what you said on that. You can repeat that.
I don't know if you saw the engineer's recommendation. So he recommended on the south side, so adjacent to the apartment complex, there are two triangles. He recommended removing the one that's closer to Narberth. Narberth Avenue.
You mean the driveways for the condo and the apartments?
Yes,
There's two triangles on either side,
yes.
50 feet driveway on. So why the triangles? I don't understand that. Why you have triangles there when you have 50 feet of driveway that you can get in and out? So this doesn't make any sense.
If an emergency vehicle has to either back out or pull into that driveway, they need clearance. So the fire truck has
The fire truck.
has a 6-foot overhang from where the tires are. So you have to imagine the tires may enter the driveway, but now you have to have this clearance for the front of the vehicle.
Okay, I don't think about the fire truck. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Do you have a public comment?
No, I just wanted to.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll go online. If there's anyone online who wishes to make a public comment.
Yeah, hi, Greg Fisher, I'm 207 Price. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I wanted to start by saying the first that we had heard, and we'd been here for 10 years, of this pilot program was sort of on the eve of it being implemented, which, I'm not sure what the notification process requires, but that feels a little rushed. That being said, we are one of the driveways that does not have the triangles. And as has been mentioned on the call or in the meeting, in addition to the Stepney comments from a few minutes ago, the triangles aren't necessarily the problem. I think it's more of a problem of common courtesy. Again, we don't have triangles. I have witnessed on countless occasions my neighbors several doors up that do have triangles, with people parked inside those triangles and even overlapping the entirety of the triangle and blocking their driveway. Personally, if you were to give us triangles, it would reduce at least 2 spaces on the street. That's not terribly realistic, especially given the apartments down the street, across the street, etc. So I would just reiterate that I think that the pilot program did perhaps make some progress. I was one of the early responders that perhaps it caused problems downstream that I don't think were forecast in the initial program. I think everybody's gotten used to those. But it comes down to a level of enforcement. As I just mentioned, we've got people parking on the triangles. So whatever the aims of the triangles are, whether it's sight lines or egress or whatever, without enforcement, none of it really matters. And that dovetails into the primary concern that myself and a lot of my neighbors on the street have, with the speed, which I understand is not part of the pilot program, but I believe it was part of the initial request, if I understand it, just word of mouth, even though I didn't see the initial request. I think the neighbors have discussed speed bumps, we've discussed enforcement. So, we're not asking for much, I don't think. I live 3 doors from the corner at Essex, and I have 2 small children. I can't tell you the number of times that someone has achieved a speed of at least 20, 25 miles an hour from that turn. It's a 4-way stop. So, A, they're not stopping. There's no enforcement of rolling stops. There's no enforcement of speeding. So what are our solutions? Speed bumps and enforcement of the speed limit. I think that the council should be well advised to consider those as options. I think some of my neighbors would agree. But as far as the amendment to the pilot program, not sure it solves the problem. The pilot program has relieved itself into practical acceptance, I guess. So, I don't necessarily think that there's much change there that we could do. But, again, I think, and my neighbor from 215 is on the call as well. Again, speed and enforcement, I think, because, if you're so callous as to cover up the triangles, and I just heard with the Stepney discussion, there's no recourse if someone's blocking a driveway. That seems asinine to me. There has to be some way to enforce, a parking on a street. You can't block someone's driveway. I know that.
Thank you, Greg.
I think Greg brought something.
Yeah. I was wondering if Chief String could respond to the enforcement issue.
So there's a couple of them there. The triangles right now, as we discussed, are in an implementation or like a temporary phase. They are not enforceable, as we just said, with Stephanie Place until they're signed.
Okay.
So, we have had complaints and we've talked to some of the residents that have called and complained to say, hey, we're testing this out before we go through and codify it and sign it. We want to make sure this works. So they aren't enforceable now. We're asking people to abide by them. And we've talked to some of the people that aren't, and ask for compliance, but there's no tickets being issued. As far as people blocking driveways, if anyone's blocking a driveway, not only do we take it on the total, so I'm not sure. We have not received any complaints where a car is there and we've just let it go. As far as the speed issue, the initial complaint for Price on the 200 block was that cars weren't getting through, that it was, traffic was impeded because of the width of the roadway, hence the need to make it one way was the argument. I don't have speed numbers for the 200 block. I can say for Dudley, which is one block down, and Gene, you and I talked about this, I think we measured 4,000 cars over a week and less than 2 dozen were enforceable violations. So, by and large, at Price and Dudley, again, slightly removed, but wider street, less parking, generally on the higher speeds. There was no speeding issue.
But I think we're going back to John, I'm gonna re-quote you from our last meeting where he said it's over density of parking is creating sightline issues. And I think, Greg, what you bring up is important, and we're not addressing the root of the problem. Is I spoke to Danielle, the manager of the Montgomery Court Apartments, and she gave me these data. Montgomery Court has 71 parking spots for 150 apartments. All but 5 of those spots are rented, not because folks don't have cars, but because it's $165 a month to park in the complex. And she estimates that 90% of the residents have cars. So when you do that math,
They're all parking on the
they're all
street.
parking on the street. So whatever we do, it's not gonna solve the fact that 90% of Montgomery Court folks have
Well,
cars and 71 are paying for a spot. So it's going to be overparked there.
so,
I do
John,
think that,
how do, when we get to the enforcement phase, I mean, it sounds like we should go forward and put in enforcement for the triangles, because I think that would help. Do we have to do that by ordinance? Do we know?
I believe so, yes.
I think so, right?
Yeah, I want to say yes.
So I think what we want, my thought is for next month is to propose an ordinance and make those triangles permanent so that we can enforce them, right? And at least get that part of the enforcement in. And then I would also, maybe suggest, a little short-term targeted enforcement on the corner. And just like we've done it. I know we've done it at Haverford and Iona, and I've complained about people rolling stop.
I
through
do
there.
want to make sure we include public comment from anyone else who wants to make a public comment. So we have someone in the room.
Oh, hi, yeah, I wasn't here for this issue, but, my name is Katie Dean. I live at 227 Hampton, and I'm on Price a lot, walking and biking. When you're on a bike, there's a hill on Price, which kind of affects the sightlines when you're coming from that way. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I think at one point, I saw like barrels of flowers in those triangles. Was that kind of like a guerrilla tactic that kind of, yes, and that's not permitted? Were those taken away?
Current, yeah, the current.
Okay, because that would be a way to prevent people from parking in the triangles, but I guess that's not permitted to have
Not current.
barrels of flowers. Okay,
That could be changed.
I mean, but it could be effective in the
Yeah.
future if you're worried about enforcement, because
Yeah.
obviously police can't be on that block every day,
Yeah.
every hour of the day, like.
Right.
So little parking calming methods. Anyway, yeah, so I guess those were taken away.
All right, thank you. Anyone online who wishes to make a public comment?
Yeah, hi, Kyle Locke from 215 Price. Apologies I couldn't be there. Thank you all for your time on this matter. The existing triangles in front of my driveway have helped certainly with safety for my children crossing the street, certainly for backing out and avoiding accidents. So yeah, I mean, if they could stay in place, the existing ones, and we could give the option as proposed to people with drives to request triangles to have the same benefit, I think we'd all appreciate it. And I really see this as an incremental step in an overall long-term strategy to make the streets safer. It's not a one or the other. I think, this addresses sightlines. And then, if we could request a traffic calming measure as a secondary part of this process to then address the speed, whether that be speed bumps one way or some other methods. I'd be in full support, and I think a lot of the neighbors would be too, given the option if they're having trouble getting in and out of their driveways currently, that they'd have access to the same benefits my family has from these triangles to date.
It's 2 hours.
Is it 2 hours?
That's the north side of the street.
Right, because that was the whole state, but it's not the whole street, okay. And it's not on Essex or Narberth.
Can I just get, I didn't get your street number.
215 Price Avenue.
Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Joe Stratton?
Hi, everybody. Joe Stratton from 402 Dudley. Thanks for all the work on these and many, many other initiatives. I had a question relates to, I think, the statement that other residents on the north side of 200 Price could request the triangles. And if that's what we're saying, is that request for triangles limited to just the 200 block of Price, or are we saying that people throughout Narberth could request triangles on either side of their driveway?
This is just for 200 block, right?
Thank you. And how, just thinking ahead, what would be the rationale for this only being something for the 200 block of Price? I'm not suggesting it should be everywhere, but I just want to make sure it's clear to residents of how this is equitable.
If they started the petition process, Joe?
Thank you. There it is.
Yeah, there's a formal traffic calming process and they initiated it. Everyone
Thank
has
you.
access. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
And now that we've got it, we adopted the traffic calming policy last month.
Yes.
So now that process is even more formalized and in writing, and so it would have to start with the initial steps of the traffic calming policy.
Which will be made public soon. Thank you.
It is on the website, yeah.
Oh, it is
Now on
now.
the-
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Anyone else online? No. Okay, got everyone.
1 second, Gene, if you.
Oh, sure.
Jeff went through the data. He found 200 block of Price speed data. Granted, it's 2 years old. We're going to get more current data. 3,500 cars, 0 enforceable violations.
Wow.
So again, that's more indicative of the residents that were complaining that traffic's impeded, not necessarily that they're speeding.
Okay.
We're going to validate that again, but
What year was that?
2023 is 2 years ago.
So no traffic, enforceable traffic. violation.
0 out of 3584.
Oh, wow.
So we'll get, we'll transition, currently our speed camera moved up on the 200 block of Sabine. Depending on what Sunday brings for us, we might get that sign moved up to the 200 block of Price, either Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and then we'll track it. And then I will kick that info to the chief when it's available.
If I may be so bold as to interrupt for just a moment. I have to leave because I have to go to work, as my schedule has been all year. It is my last public safety meeting. I want to thank you all for working so hard to work with everybody at the table to try and make the residents and visitors of Narberth safer and ease of access. And I just want to take this moment to thank you for all your hard work. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
After almost 100 public safety meetings, this is it. So
Phenomenal.
thank you so much all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
I do just want to say, I think we have to have a realistic conversation on the reality of departments and parking. I'll just put that there. Because we're just going to continue to have to conversation with the reality is the data that I got from the Montgomery Port Departments are suggesting there is a substantial overflow of cars on the street, whether we want them to or not.
Yeah.
It is the reality. So we're just going to continue to be putting more cars on the street. We're going to continue to have the sightline issues, so we should.
Yeah, this spills over into.
It's, yeah, so.
I think we need to look at the whole parking permit program as a whole, and I think that's a big piece of it. And whether that's causing some issues or solving for the issues. I think that whole thing needs to be looked at comprehensively.
Yeah, which is actually one of the reasons why I was saying on other ends, I think we should slow down and do that comprehensive evaluation, because I'm doing the math. According to Danielle, we have 64 cars from Montgomery Court Apartments that are somewhere in that area. Parking on the street.
I will move on
Yeah.
to the vote.
So that's what I was gonna suggest is, so I don't know what we're voting to make the pilot permanent, right? Which would then allow for the triangles to be permanent
Right.
and also.
And so we have two options. We can either vote on the plan as amended by the traffic engineer recently, or we can go back to the original striking plan that's in place right now and making that.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest the
Original.
original.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clearly.
So.
Yep.
Making the original plan permanent. And then directing, I guess, Mr. Walco to draft an ordinance that would allow us to do so. For presentation, right? That's what we have to do, right? We actually have to.
I know with the signs, yeah. Once the signs are up, it's enforced.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor of recommending the original striking plan and drafting an ordinance to make that permanent? Okay, that's 3-0 in favor. Right, and as for the discussion item, municipal long-term parking permits, that is going to be tabled.
Yes, until probably January, but I think Chief String had some comments on that.
I mean, for table, I do want to indicate this is becoming a more pressing issue. And I think we need to make sure that hopefully we can get it addressed at the next public safety meeting, because we're getting more complaints and we're getting more enforcement problems as a result of it. So I don't know what the resolution council, but I just want to emphasize that we probably want some sort of resolution to present to our concern.
Meaning people are parking in municipal lots.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, an expectation as to whether or not they're paying the meter or not paying the meter, trying to activity across all, which meant, you know, and we've obviously had mixed messages that have gone out to the business owners and employees as to whether or not, you know, they're permitted to park in the municipal lot.
Yeah.
So whatever that message is, we just need to determine it and get it clearly to them.
Yeah, I mean, is there a reason why we're not making this simple and just saying the meter is the meter? And we're enforcing.
I think the bigger issue is employees are parking in
Correct, then they would.
the
pay
municipal lot, there are no meters down here.
So is there?
Oh, I thought you were talking specifically
No,
behind
yeah, no,
the
behind,
business.
yeah.
This is the issue of like,
Behind Haverford.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So I mean, I think because we don't have any updated parking policy at this point, probably the best path is to right now, just to do what we were doing before. And I know that was some sort of revised enforcement or lack of enforcement in Back Haverford Avenue lots. So in the meantime, that seems like a solution. Otherwise, it's a little bit punitive, I think, to our business owners who have been using that to access their businesses. So, you know,
I disagree with that. I actually don't think this is a council issue, but I think this is so squarely a policing issue. It was an issue that a parking permit person involved. I don't know that this is a council issue.
I think it's a policy issue. I think it's a parking policy issue.
So we're gonna let any business person park for free in Norwood? Like that's the policy?
I think, I mean, I know Maggie's working on the policy right now, so I don't know the exact terms, but we can talk about that. I mean, it might be limited to a certain number of business owners. I'm not sure what that would look like.
yeah. I mean, I guess the question is whether you allow for extended non-2-hour parking for a fee, right? I mean, that's an alternative, is you could have a parking permit for a fee that allows you to park in that lot without having to constantly clean the meters every night.
Okay, I think we then need to think, are other business owners gonna be cool with, okay, you're taking spots from my potential customers because you don't wanna walk a block? or two.
Yeah,
Like, I actually think. we should-
that's why we have to
Yeah.
discuss it, right?
And this is because two business employees were like, hey, I had a deal where I didn't have to pay to park. Like, I do think perhaps we're making a much larger policy on an issue of something that's probably not council related. And I would be very cautious that we should talk to all the businesses today. So like, you're cool taking up a majority of shoppers parking to your business centers park for free, rather than walking from
We can
here.
talk about making it, have an end date to that, because right now, there's nobody parking back there. There's, it's not like we have a whole bunch of customers fighting for parking and have it for.
I parked there last night and I have to tell you, there was all the two spots. Because it was too cold to walk downtown. But anyway, I would also just kick it back to you and say, this is such a, we're talking about meter enforcement. Right?
Yes.
I think.
So I think at this point,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I think somebody's brought this to council's attention. So I think, at the very least, directing it back to me is fine, but I think we need an official, okay.
Let's
Take
see
it
what
to me.
Maggie had, raised this let's see, I assume Maggie's gonna come to us with something more wholesome
Yeah.
to explain the situation.
Yes, I think she wanted to do that for this meeting, but she just didn't have the time,
Yeah.
so, definitely the next meeting we should have something.
Mhm.
Okay, so I will move on to committee reports, we already heard from our Chamber Commission, some comments from the EAC, we have Katie Skin here from the Police Advisory Committee, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, I think, for our council members are aware that, we recently lost 3 members of the committee. I'm the last man standing, and I'm currently vice chair. And there was the call for application on the borough website. So hopefully new applications are coming in. I think John Gonzalez, who previously served but left because of scheduling issues, he would like to return. And I've also heard from Kate Cornwell that she was applying. So I think there is enough interest that we will be able to regroup in the new year. And I think the plan to make it, especially because when we formed, we didn't yet have Chief Strang. There was the concern that, a committee was needed to help advise on policy. Now we have Chief Strang, now we have a lot of the policy has been redeveloped. The website has been put up. So we are thinking of not trying to meet monthly, but more like quarterly. And also we will probably move the scheduling from early morning to evening, which will accommodate John Gonzalez's schedule better. And so we will continue, but we'll regroup. And I don't know when those appointments are able to be made, whether it will be January or how that will work. But I'll work with
At our
the
next council meeting.
Yeah.
It's on scheduling.
It's on the
Yeah.
schedule for next week and the 2 applications are in, so we'll be able to vote on them.
And I think mostly we want to exist just so that we can be here in an advisory capacity if something comes up. I think with the new website, as a communications person, I was already seeing some places where we could like add more language or improve the way we communicate to the public that calling 911 is what we do in Narberth. So I think there are potentially some little things we could advise on just in terms of like wording and the copy on the website. So that might be our first order of business. Just to come back to that, but we will exist with some new and returning members.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, departmental reports, we have the fire report in the packet, anything for police to report?
Nothing other than what's attached.
Okay. And are there any other general public comments not related to today's voting items? Any online? Okay, hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting is adjourned at 11:05.
Go, Jean.